You're listening to Helping of Happiness, episode number 120. Today we are doing part 2 of our episode with Jenny and Joe First from Of Progress and Purpose. They're going to give us 7 steps to self-confidence. Hi, you're listening to Helping of Happiness. I'm your host, Hillary Hess, a crazy mom of 7 kids who loves to eat and loves to travel. Mom life can be exhausting, hectic, and scary at times, so let's take this journey together. We can love, we can learn, we can laugh, we can cry, and we can become better friends while we're at it. So last week, we had episode number 119 with Jenny and Joe First of Progress and Purpose. They talked to us about how to create a meaningful identity. And this week, it's kind of a second part. I had them go a little bit into teaching us a little bit about self-confidence. And they're going to give us 7 simple steps to learn how to boost our self-confidence. I thought this would be a great topic this week because school's starting around a lot of different places. And I know for me, it kind of feels like a new year, kind of like New Year's is. It's kind of a second start. And me as a mom, as well as my kids, I think could always use a little bit of self-confidence at the beginning of starting fresh on something. So I hope you enjoy them. If you want to listen to more about them and you didn't hear last week's podcast, make sure you go back and listen to it. They're fantastic. We really introduced them more in the podcast that we had before. And make sure you go listen to their podcast. They're awesome. Without any further ado, here's Jenny and Joe. You talk so much about having confidence in yourself. Are there a few things that you can tell us right now that we can be on this path to start having some more self-confidence?
Yeah, I would start with the definition of this. And that is why we talk about it so much, because I define confidence and identity as the same thing, knowing and loving who you are. So it's not about getting to some like grand goal in order to be good enough to be confident in yourself. It's about knowing and loving who you already are and being rooted in that identity. So start with the definition. Define it as knowing and loving who you are. And once you have that in mind, my next step would be to follow the things that you love, because you can't love who you are until you know who you are. And sometimes that's hard to figure out. That is the biggest thing for me right now. And it's different at different stages of your life. You lose that and you come back to it. And so follow the things that you enjoy, that you love, and that's going to help you find those things that are a piece of who you are. And then once you know what those are, then you have the capability to love that. And I think give yourself grace. That would be another thing, because if the definition is knowing and loving who you are, again, it's not about getting somewhere. It's about embracing that and owning it more than anything. And again, that's easier said than done. But what about you, honey?
Yeah, I would say I tend to view confidence kind of from a perspective of like having a sense that you are capable and that you, as you are, that you have the power, that your choices matter, that you have the power to influence your own future and your own destiny. So some of the ways that I know of to increase that quality or that attitude in yourself is, well, the number one way to do it is to put yourself in, to give yourself challenges, to do things that are challenging, that are attainable, but not things that are easy. And there's a variety of different ways you can do that, in various hobbies and other pursuits that you can do. But I think that having success in a challenging situation is has been shown in research to really increase your self-confidence, because you look back and you say, hey, like my choices did matter. I was able to influence the outcome in an adverse situation, and make, my life better. And so I think that's the number one you can do is set goals that are challenging but also attainable. Another thing that I know of is to surround yourself with people that you want to be like. That if you want to achieve something and to have confidence in yourself, you need to surround yourself with those kind of people who are going to push you a little bit, and who are going to encourage you to reach new heights. When we see somebody, especially somebody who is like us, achieve something, we're more likely to believe that we're able to achieve that as well. So that's something else I would say. And just, try to organize your life in a way that you have opportunities to engage in enriching activities that will stretch you, and that will get you a little bit outside of your comfort zone and move you forward. I think that's what I would say.
And I think in the process, recognizing that it's not about comparing yourself to the people around you so much as building that identity. Who do I want to be? What is my purpose? What are my values? And you still will do all of those things, but you're not doing it to be good enough. You're doing it because you want to become something and fulfill, I guess, the potential that's already inside of you. And along with that, getting comfortable with failure is a big thing because you're going to have trip ups along the way. And that's something that we've really embraced this year and this season is that it's okay to fail. I think failure it's a stepping stone. It's not a step backwards. So
yeah, I think, confidence, another way of defining confidence is the ability to recover from a failure. And so, and it's a lot about how you view failure. Do you view it as a threat that you have to avoid? That's the unconfident view. But if you view failure as a challenge to be overcome, that's a more healthy, self-confident way of looking at it. And if you have the latter view, if you view failure as a challenge to be overcome, you're more likely to persist when the going gets tough. You're more likely to get back up and persevere when you do fail, and you're actually more likely to expend more effort than you normally would otherwise. So
that's not to say that you have to enjoy it all either.
No, failure is never a fun thing. Like that's not what I'm saying. But
it's just, I totally agree with that. Looking at it as a challenge to be overcome, but sometimes it's not a welcome challenge. No. Let's be honest. But it's okay. It's okay for it to be both hard and something that is possible that you're going to take on.
Yeah, the irony of that is that if you just succeed all the time and you never have failures and you're not comfortable with that, you don't have high self-confidence. You just have an inflated sense of confidence. But the minute you hit a rough spot, you're going down, because you're not prepared for it.
You just crash and burn because you don't know what to do with yourself, right?
Yeah. So there's a zone of proximal development in the amount of challenge that you take on. You can do too much or too little.
So do you guys have an example of some kind of challenge that you've given yourself that hasn't been too big of a challenge, that's been kind of right in that meaty curve that you guys are talking about?
Well, for me, the obvious answer is running for me. I've been a runner since high school, but the last few years I've gotten into ultra distance trail running. And
Nice.
for me, that's really been a venue where I've definitely put myself in that zone where failure is very possible, and I've DNF'd a few races, which means did not finish. So that's definitely a possibility. Every time I go do a race, sometimes you just have a bad day, sometimes you have a great day. But I think that, that endeavor in particular has taught me a lot about how to address failure and how to overcome it. It's kind of like this little incubator in my life of teaching myself how to succeed in other areas of my life. And I've seen it really benefit me in some of those other areas, because I'm more able to stick to things that are hard, because I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know what, if I can go run 30 or 40 or 50 miles, and I can handle that pain for that long, I can handle this, and it really helps teach me how to get myself through challenging situations. And so that's the obvious example that comes to mind for me, is of something that I do that kind of, I think, helps build my confidence a lot. I know that when I was younger, I was not a very confident person at all. I was extremely shy in elementary and middle school. I was actually bullied quite a bit as a younger child by other kids my age. And fortunately, I had very good parents who helped me see that in a way that allowed me to overcome it. And I'm actually glad of having that experience now. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I'm glad that it happened to me, because I think it made me a better person. But when I started running in high school, it gave me this sense of purpose. It gave me this ability to almost take myself out of a situation and look at it almost as a third person, and be able to watch myself and get myself through that situation. And so that's kind of where that is coming from for me, and that's always been something that's really helped me get through those harder times in life.
I bet it's making you such a better teacher and such a better parent to be empathetic to others that have those experiences too. I see that from one of my kids who has had a lot of those kinds of hard times with friends and people around him. And I just think, man, you are going to have the most big bursting heart through your life for having gone through those experiences and still coming out loving other people, because I think that really is it's a big thing to overcome.
I think one of the biggest things that I was taught by my parents and through that experience was and I didn't understand it really at the time, but my dad would always say that so and so is picking on you because they don't feel good about themselves, because they're secure about themselves. And again, coming back to this whole identity thing, like, that is totally true. When somebody is not grounded and rooted in who they are and secure in their identity and their purpose, that's when you get, a person acting out in ways like that, like bullying and other antisocial behaviors. And like I said, I didn't really understand it at the time, but looking back, like, I can see that person, really did not feel good about themselves, and they were trying to, in a really twisted way, trying to compensate and make themselves feel better about themselves, and that kind of really helped me develop a sense of empathy towards, and I'm friends with some of those people now, on social media and whatever, and which is kind of interesting. But I think that understanding that was what was going on really helped me develop that sense of empathy and be able to get past that and not have it hurt me in the ways that sometimes bullying hurts people.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I love little stories that kind of help tell the concepts that you're talking about. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being with us today. I'm all empowered to tackle new situations and work on my self-confidence. I'm so glad that Joe and Jenny were willing to come and spend some extra time with us. And make sure you go back and listen to the episode that we did with them last week if you didn't catch that. They really are just the sweetest couple, and I love talking with them so much. If you are listening through Apple Podcasts and you love this podcast, please head over and give us a rating, a review, and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. That's the best way for us to be able to grow, is for you to share it with the people that you love.